Their fundamental business model was to take a business problem and launch it as an API service so that it is reusable across all industries.
We also look at expanding to GraphQL, gRPC, and some other modern tech stacks. And obviously, we want to be able to bring that what we call as a dirty water or a muddy water problem that exists in the API.
Shortage of skilled developers that the world is facing.
It is facing, absolutely. Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Pitch Cafe podcast. Today is a very, very special occasion because I am on my podcast bringing on two founders who are building the next gen platform for API automation. Guys, why do you think this is a big deal? First of all, I want to start with an analogy. Think about the analogy Steve Jobs used when he introduced Apple. Imagine a person walking on the feet and then you give him a bicycle. The iPhone was the bicycle for the mind. The Mac brand was a bicycle for the mind. Today, we are going to talk to founders who are building a bicycle for the next gen development platform, the enterprise platform, the API automation for the software development lifecycle. This space has been super hot for several decades. And today, we are bringing on two founders, Sathia and Amol Dewhare. Alright guys, why do you think it's important to worry about building APIs? You know, if you look at the top unicorns today, like Netflix or Uber or Airbnb, these are all unicorns because they have built APIs for accessing daily commodities and they've given a very good API interface, but the API technology itself is stuck in the old age. Imagine you're building unicorns and you don't have the tools to do it. Or if you're able to accelerate these tools using autonomous technology or making API building autonomous. That's exactly what Conektto is doing, and we have two enterprising founders here. Sathia is CTO of Conektto, is an automation obsessed industry leader with 20 plus years of experience and 6 patents in this domain. We also have with us Amol Dewhare. He's the CEO of Conektto. He is a Chicago Booth MBA with 20 plus years of experience in API and API-led digital transformation. So without further ado, let's bring on these enterprising co-founders and let's find out the story of making this whole journey autonomous. It's a very fascinating journey. So let's talk to them. Welcome to Pitch Cafe podcast, Sathia and Amol Dewhare. What a pleasure to have you here. So let me start with this question. What's the story of Conektto? You know, how can we explain the presence of such a product in today's environment? And you have a really fascinating way of looking at how automation has evolved. You gave me amazing metaphors when I spoke to you for the first time, how human beings are co-evolving with automation and autonomous technology. Tell us all about the story of Conektto.
So 3 challenges that need immediate attention. Empowering the developers with more meaningful work. Today, developers are focusing too much on syntax and not on the value of the API. That has led to API sprawl that is actually causing a threat to the booming digital economy. In fact, according to Narayanan and Wiley of F5, they claim boldly that if data is the new oil, API will be the new plastic. So we need to make sure that developers are building API that has value to the business. Second, time to market. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks on an average for an API to go from design to build. But what we know in a post-COVID world is first mover advantage, and this time can be the difference between being a leader or a laggard in the industry. And the third most important challenge facing the API development landscape is upfront investment cost. Today, it takes about $50,000 to build an API, which is a luxury that not every startup, digital native, small to medium business enterprise can afford. So we said, how do we level the playing field? How do we make sure that we bring innovation to the rescue and let API builders rely on the power of a platform like Conektto to quickly take their products to the market faster, add value to the business, and really let it contribute to the bottom line. So the story of Conektto revolved around these pillars where it emphasizes developer productivity. By focusing on API design skills and elevating the game, by bringing in the product owners, the business owners, the go-to-market teams, and the sales along with the developers, generating high-value design and then leveraging the design to generate all the artifacts in a single click is a game changer.
Wow.
Number two, Conektto brings productivity to a level where now launching your APIs to market is a matter of few hours, not weeks. And this is done at a fraction of the current investment cost. That means your enterprise, your business can now foster innovation, launch products and services faster to market, and forge partnerships that can take your business to a different level. And third, and most importantly, is our platform is going to be able to make sure that the explosion of APIs, which is projected, in fact, we are going to have 1.5 billion net new APIs in the next 8 years. If you look at metaverse, if you look at the IoT explosion and the data that we are actually capturing, decisions that are going to be derived from those data will going to lead to launch innovative products. And that is where our product is going to be able to arm every business with the opportunity to launch quickly at a price point that is going to be highly competitive. And that is why we at Conektto decided to journey on this path and revolutionize the APIs for the future.
That's an amazing explanation, Amol. I think this is a massive market, a burning need, and I think it has great prospects. So with that, I have a few questions about some terms you used. What is API economy and how did it evolve? And how does Conektto figure in the big picture? Obviously, you explained to me how it's catalyzing the process of building APIs. But really, what is the API economy like? How is it moving? And what are some of the fine-grained details inside?
So if you look at the way how API economy, right, you have to look at the history till 20 years ago. Started back in the days when Amazon was inventing their supply chain and their ability to bring computers and servers over the cloud. Big evolution. And then similarly, if you look at the SMAC, the social mobile analytics cloud evolution, right? All of that foundation was based on the API. And then the real API economy started with what we call as the digital disruptors. The top 10 digital disruptors, Uber, Twilio, Airbnb, and such, have revolutionized how customer experience is delivered and all of that through API. And they contribute about 1 trillion to the economy, right? And valuation, right? And all of that started with the whole API economy, and that's the whole evolution of the term of API economy. But the way how we look at the next 8 to 10 years, 200 million APIs exist. 1.5 billion more APIs going to be built. All the last 20 years has been spent in what we call as a hamster wheel, trying to do the same thing over and over. Everybody is building the API, and the API developer always starts with a JSON code or YAML and code first approach. The next generation of building API to revolutionize Web3, Metaverse, IoT, all of that will be driven by the businesses, will be driven by the product managers and the business owners. And guess what? We want the product managers and business owners to be able to create their vision in a nice design that doesn't require PhD in JSON or PhD in YAML. That's Conektto. Conektto is the platform that's going to give the ability for product managers, business owners, for that matter, anybody who wants to launch a business, have a vision, and they want to capitalize their customer experience and their business model using API. They don't need to know JSON. All they need to do is how do you do drag, drop, point, click, and that's Conektto. Now, with this whole evolution of API economy, what Conektto does is we have built an AI NLP based algorithm while giving the interface for the business owners and product managers to design their API with the drag drop, intuitive interface. We associate the data that goes behind the API, the design, right? And that data is now metadata. The metadata is used to create a meta model And the meta model is actually generating all these artifacts, right, through our patent pending algorithm. So the way how we see the future is with this ability, product managers and business owners can get their API design, translate it to the developer's language, this JSON and YAML effortlessly, right? And like Amol mentioned, single source of truth, right? Left hand does not know how to talk to right hand. And that's the big problem that our platform is solving. Developers, testers, deployment, DevOps engineers, everybody is looking at a single source of design, and the design generated meta model and the meta model generated artifacts which they can consume it and then go live with API. The future that we see is that the metadata that we have, we look at it as the metadata repository, right? And the metadata repository is what's going to be driving what we call as moving away from an API economy to an AI economy.
Awesome.
AI economy is going to remove all the friction that exists between humans that are operating and trying to understand how do I grow my business? What opportunities exist, right? And obviously you also have patent.
So you just heard from Ram such an amazing description of the potential of the API economy and where it's headed and what Conektto is doing. This is a very brilliant vision, and they have 6 patents to hold this as pillars. So let's find out more about the patents from Ram and see what's new with the technology Conektto is bringing. It's got all the terms AI, NLP. It's got some of these low-code, no-code tools. Everybody can code, a business owner, a product manager, literally everyone is able to code. To me, this looks like a dream. I had trouble coding. So let's find out from Ram. Tell us, what are the 6 patents? It's no joke to have 6 patents backing. Investors love patent-backed startups. What are they? Please tell us.
The first and foremost is the problems that we are trying to solve, the business problems that we are trying to solve are the problems that exist today. And if you look at amazing unicorns that have evolved, have come up with very creative and innovative approach to solve the problems that exist today. We are not solving the problem that exists today because we know that we have seen the last 20 years how it was built. Hamster wheel, doing same thing over and over, right? But we know the future. It's doing more for less, light speed, time to market, and the most important aspect is we felt that we have to do something really good for the love for techies. We love, the life of developers, testers, product managers, and they are struggling. It's not easy. Number 2, the most important thing is we want to do the best innovation that can unlock B2B channels. Today, if you look at even unicorns, everybody is struggling to grow. I have seen some of the unicorns, if you log into very commonly known platforms, that we use every day, they're asking, can you please refer somebody? And you will get $100 referral. Struggling to grow.
They're struggling. Absolutely.
Everybody. And we believe if you unlock the B2B channels through API, instead of having to spend millions of dollars in sales and marketing, you should look at how do you partner with the best of the breeds available in your ecosystem. And all of it is only possible through API. Now, the story exists for many years, but what we felt is the speed at which we are looking at the next 8 to 10 years, the evolution would require anybody to be able to launch an API very quickly. That's the innovation that we are trying to address, right? How do we innovate the way how APIs are built? And more importantly, how do we innovate the way how APIs can be built very quickly in the future, matter of minutes, with the right level of standards, right level of governance, right level of tooling, and the right level of contracts and quality, right? So going back to the question around the patent, right? We addressed every piece of what I just mentioned, right? One is the metadata repository. Metadata repository means I know what businesses you offer and what business I offer, and you will have an opportunity to have the AI engine help you to partner with specific pieces of my business so that it becomes revenue addition for you, revenue addition for me.
This is amazing.
So mutual growth. So the metadata is one. The second aspect of our patent is around the artifact generation, right? Because we believe that There are a lot of tools that have been built over several years, and those tools are not helping. They are creating additional problems because it only is constantly evolving, and the developers have to learn all these tools. It becomes very challenging for them to keep up with the pace. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, remember the pace that we said 200 million APIs have been built in 20 years. 1.5 billion net new APIs have been built in 8 years. That means we're going to need a 10x productivity and a fraction of a cost, right? And so that is another important piece that we have built as part of our patent, where we generate the foundation elements that is needed for the developers to be able to take that and the testers to be able to operationalize it, the product managers to be able to design it. Yeah. So the key component of those are, our NLP-based approach to understanding the metadata. Yeah. How do you unpack the metadata? What are the differences that exist in the metadata, right? In our claim, we have about 8 or 9 claims are centered around that, right? And then we have a whole bunch of additional claims which also have opportunity for us to evolve our technology. Yeah. For example, we will want to be able to use multi-layer perceptron, where AI is assisting those talented, skilled people like developers, testers, product owners to be able to build their API, right? Yeah. So that is the whole structure or the whole construct of patent that we filed, and we are hoping that it will be approved in the next couple of months.
Fantastic. So tell us, Amol, what were some of the challenges you faced with coming up with Conektto? Presently, as you're ramping up Conektto, what are some of the challenges you're facing?
So I think fundamentally, if you talk to any business owner that is trying to launch APIs faster, they just can't get enough generated with all the talent they have around. Yeah. In fact, the demand is so high. We talked about the 1.5 billion net new APIs that's going to be needed in the next 8 years. And engineering talent that is required comes at a premium. Yeah. And we already see that API first economy is now the default. Yeah. Whether you're a startup or an enterprise, everyone's trying to open up their assets, open up their services, form partnerships. Yeah. So businesses are struggling to keep pace of the demand because they are constricted by how soon can they grow their API teams. Mm-hmm. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, as we said, is the whole construct of that API design. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting your API design done correctly, then your API that's going to be generated will have to go through multiple revisions because what the business envisions and what the developers build, because of the silos, causes a lot of back and forth. Yeah. So eventually that eats into your time to market. And third, we talked about, which was investment. All of this comes at a premium. And as we get into recessionary times and as every dollar becomes even more critical, we are facing a situation that unless we do APIs build out quickly, focused on high quality, inbuilt governance, we will be not empowering the business owners with ability to launch their services, take their products time to faster. Rather, they will be focused on choosing between a few because of the investment that is needed upfront. Yeah. So these 3 challenges is what is really holding back the explosion of API economy. Yeah. And that is where we feel that an opportunity exists with a platform like Conektto to, 1, not sacrifice on your vision, not sacrifice on your service, launch it quickly and be able to grow your business rapidly.
Yeah. So tell me, right now there are unicorns who have leveraged APIs like Netflix or Airbnb and others. So how are they handling this challenge currently? You think they're burning and we can't see it, or they're playing under potential, introducing a product like Conektto into their ecosystem? Just let us imagine how it's going to change their business. Give me some hypothetical example.
So you talked about Netflix, you talked about Twilio, right? API first companies. Their fundamental business model was to take a business problem and launch it as an API service so that it is reusable across all industries. 2-factor authentication. We can't think of any better example like Twilio, right? Yeah. What is the challenge with some of the incumbents or the traditional industries has been, there has been a lot of legacy debt that has accumulated over the years.
Why didn't they get rid of the legacy debt? Why is it so hard?
Correct. This is the way the software evolved, right? You went from a monolithic architecture, right? This is again the way the software used to be deployed in data centers, in-house, application servers. So it just was as time grew and as smartphone evolution really changed the behavior of the consumer, customer experience was the new mantra for success. With Netflix, with all of these apps, we are now expecting the same kind of experience, whether you're visiting your doctor or whether you're trying to get into a cab. So when you talk about customer experience, then you got to be able to figure out how do we make sure that that experience on a smartphone is going to be really out of this world. And that is where you start seeing shifts towards a microservices based architecture. And that microservices architecture is what actually led to the whole explosion of these services that are then tied together to provide the experience end to end. And you asked your question, right? So where are some of the enterprises struggling? This effort to modernize their architecture, to move to a microservices based architecture is where a lot of the developers are facing challenges in unlocking the potential, decomposing the architecture, and then being able to make sure you modernize the architecture. All when there is tremendous pressure to deliver more as the whole API economy moves towards the next phase, which is going to be really exciting, metaverse, IoT. So this is this push and pull. How do you modernize? How do you build new apps? And that is where a tool like Conektto that focuses on using AI, machine learning, NLP to extract information and provide a low-code design tool to quickly design, drag, drop, point click, and launch services faster is going to be a game changer, because now it allows you to not sacrifice on your services, but quickly accelerate using Conektto.
I see.
And additionally, what I believe, right, to add what Amol mentioned, the question that you asked around was, where are these unicorns stuck? I think one of the most important aspects is anymore, it's not enough that you are a unicorn. You have to look at how you can make others as a unicorn so that you grow and everybody else grow. Let's say that, I give you access to Stripe API. Would you be able to integrate Stripe API for your small business?
Yeah.
You need specialized skill. You need developers, right?
Yeah.
Now, while everybody is focused on creating a developer ecosystem, like documentation, none of that, very, very less effort spent in, how do we make this API, whether it is Stripe or Uber or Airbnb, so easy to implement or to integrate with any small business or medium business or for the large enterprise, right? And that's where the unicorns are stuck. If you look at everybody is doing a lot of sales and marketing, trying to, bring, brand awareness and trying to bring more partners on the platform. But that is not a problem that's going to get solved in that way, right? The problem can only be solved when you look at API as the channel for growing your business. That means you have to look at the platforms like Conektto, where making the integration or creating the integration is simplified that anybody can integrate, right? Would help the unicorns to become decacorns and create more unicorns.
I'm not too knowledgeable about large enterprises, but I am a solo entrepreneur and I have struggled with payment integration. I have struggled with building a community, and all of this came down to what tools were available to the developer who was working on my website or portal or the platform I was integrated to. And I wish somebody revolutionized that. And there are companies who are doing that. And they are helping people like me get a lot of influencers. I'm thinking for large enterprises, it would mean a lot of customers. So give us some numbers, how using Conektto, a hypothetical case, how you can drive up the revenue. We understood it is time to market.
Very happy to take example of Uber, right?
Yeah.
You know that today with Uber, there are different types of cars that you can call, right? Without even calling anyone, you can say, I want to do a SUV or different types of cars. That is one business. And with Uber, you can order food.
Yeah.
You can order groceries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that the limit for Uber?
No.
Why not? Why not? Think about this. Imagine that Uber can offer their platform so easy to expand, where they are able to bring additional partnerships.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That is just not tied with the drivers or the grocery deliveries, right? For example, healthcare.
Mind-blowing. This is mind-blowing.
Bring a patient.
I want to ask you this. If you look at the way Amazon is growing, just based on what you just said, extending the thought, they are not at all scared of moving across domains. They're so comfortable,
Yes.
and they're probably one of the few pioneers in APIs.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yes. And
that's what they're getting it right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
you actually brought up a very important point. We believe the future is what we call as an open business. The concept of open business is inspired from open financing, open banking, and what is now evolved as composable business, right? For example, retail companies are getting into grocery deliveries. Retail companies are getting into restaurants.
Yeah,
you see
yeah,
that revenue sharing, right? Healthcare companies are getting into pharmacy. Pharmacy companies are getting into
Absolutely.
clinical,
Yes.
hospital management,
Yes.
and telecom companies are getting into banking.
Absolutely.
The reason is that they want to be able to grow and have a pie of the revenue share with adjacent businesses. That's the composable enterprises, and the future would go towards what we call as open business, meaning any business should be able to take and build integrations to adjacent business and expose their adjacent business as services or adjacent business as capabilities, where they're able to onboard a lot of small and medium business, right? That is one. The second important aspect that we believe is that the way how last 3 years small businesses and medium businesses have struggled with COVID, and especially the kind of subsidies they got from the governments across the globe. Now the small business and medium business are going to catapult. They are going to pay back all that they got from the governments through growth, through innovative services, and value adds and whatnot, and that is going to be very key for driving the integrations for unicorns. Unicorns will have to look at onboarding a lot of those small businesses and enable them to create integrations, and all of them are going to be API. And in fact, you would see that the next 5 to 8 years, the word API is becoming so common that anybody would be able to understand what the API is, because one, it is not created by human. Conektto's AI engine creates the API.
Wow. This is mind-blowing.
And I think just to pick on Ram's thoughts here, one of the fundamental headwinds when it comes to building APIs also this shortage of skilled developers that the world is facing.
It is facing. Absolutely.
There is a projection that by 2024, we are looking at 500,000 plus of lack of skilled developers worldwide. So now here is this opportunity to be able to launch your product services faster. But on the other hand, you're going to be pressed for the talent that is going to actually make that dream a reality. So you really talked about how does Conektto help bridge that gap by bringing the platform capabilities of auto code generation, autonomous API testing. It really compensates for this lack of skilled resources. And that is where we think one of the big impact we want to make is to make it possible, and not at the expense of, but because of the capabilities of the platform.
Fantastic. So they say any sophisticated technology looks like magic. It is seamless. It's like operating in the background. You don't realize it. You're bringing that kind of feel to the autonomous API landscape, and you're catalyzing this whole open business revolution. I'm totally amazed by the potential of Conektto and what it can do. So, just to pique the curiosity of the investors who are listening to this, I'm sure a lot of them will be. Tell us a little bit about how your company is doing in terms of the MVP, the product plan, your roadmap, just bits which you can reveal to the investor community.
So we launched Conektto in June of 2022. So it's been 3 months, close to 3 months now, that the platform is live. Our MVP is being used by 6 beta customers. They are loving the platform for the innovation that it is bringing, for the acceleration it is providing them. And we are seeing tremendous feedback in terms of our capabilities of the platform. Today, when we've launched, we are generating .NET code, Spring Boot code. We already generate all of the functional test cases. We do performance test cases. And we are the only platform that also generates test data. Not to mention the documentation, the mocks, and all of the features. So our customers are loving it. One platform that enables the experience to be completely seamless. Now, this is just the start. right? When you talk about compliance, when you talk about industry vertical capabilities and demands, the sky is the limit. And we are actually getting a lot of feedback. Our roadmap is really getting carved out by our early customer feedback, and we are actually looking to raise investments, and we are talking to VC firms that are investing specifically in developer tools, AI, machine learning opportunities. We are going to be use those funds to, one, obviously in hire talent. Second is obviously to make sure that our pipeline continues to show strong growth. And third is to make sure that we have funds to make sure that we get the brand awareness out. We make people know about the power of the Conektto, and that's where we are focused right now on.
Awesome.
And obviously, I think all big things start very small, right?
Yeah.
So we have started with our MVP, where we enable, product managers, business owners to be able to connect their data source and build what we call as the foundation elements of your data provider APIs. We support SQL Server, support Postgres and the MySQL, and we generate Java code and .NET code. We generate the entire API workspace, a downloadable interface through which you can, operationalize the API. And we also generate the translation that developers need, so the developers understand what business users and the product managers are intended to look at, that they want to go live, or the innovation that they want to create value, right? In the language that they like, with this JSON, right? So we generate that. And the most important thing is we also generate the deployment, right? We are partnering with, a lot of API management companies, and we are able to generate, right? And the most important aspect of our MVP is that, this is where we are starting with today, right? What we have in our the immediate horizon is getting what we call our hybrid API integration. Right? That means if you have an existing API, you can connect multiple APIs and create an customized implementation of your design. And same thing, right? Your business generates value, translate the value to the developers in the form of JSON and specific API specification, right? And then they implement, right? There are platforms that exist which can do it, but what we are offering is our engine writes the code that writes the code.
This is amazing.
Right? We have a code that writes the code, right? We have automation engine which is actually creating the code for your Java, for your .NET, for your test data, for your mock, for your all of it, right? We also look at expanding to GraphQL, gRPC, and some other modern tech stacks. And obviously, we want to be able to bring that, what we call as a dirty water or a muddy water problem that exists in the API for every large companies, where there's a lot of sprawl. Left hand does not know what right hand is doing. A lot of lack of reusability. Way too many APIs exist, and no way how you can track who's doing what, and it creates a huge burden on developers, product managers, API testing, and DevOps, and all of that, right? And that's what we also want to solve as part of our horizon.
So fantastic. I was curious to know, what are your customers like? I mean, are they retail companies? Are they banks? You said API management companies. That's one. What are they like? What are your customers like?
So right now, the customers that we have onboarded, we have insurance companies, we have financial services companies. When you talk about the large enterprise players, but also on the digital native firms, we are in fact really excited to have an edtech company.
Wow.
We are talking about a clinical research company that's trying to launch an innovative product.
Domain agnostic.
We are domain agnostic. And then we also are talking to a Web3 startup that is trying to do a wallet and the whole financial inclusions for the unbanked. So we are working across domains, and that is providing us some tremendous opportunities to get feedback that is going to be really important as we mature the product and as more customers come on board.
Yeah, we heard from both of you, why Conektto, why now, how long you have come, where you have to go. If I were to ask, what is the kind of money you're raising? What's the number you have in mind? What kind of investors do you want to work with?
So we want to work with investors who are, one, like I mentioned, investing in the enterprise SaaS B2B play. We also are looking to partner with VC firms that are investing with AI, machine learning, that is going to really bring the productivity to a different level. In terms of our fundraise, we are trying to raise $1.2 million at a $6 million valuation as we speak today.
The two qualities that we look for, right? We are looking for investors who really can partner with us and catapult from a go-to-market standpoint, right? GTM is very, very important.
Tell us a little bit about the challenges in GTM which you're facing right now and where you need help.
So if you look at, right, one of the most important aspect is that we are telling, hey, there is still so many companies that exist that they don't know the power of the API, because API has been looked at a developer thingy or a technical, which only for technology companies.
Yeah.
But let's look at the foundation element. We are going to be building 1.5 billion net new APIs in the next 8 years. We built only 200 million in the last 20 years. That means we are looking at a massive growth opportunity. And today, the B2B companies are locked. It's very difficult to open up that channel because spending patterns are changing, right? When the spending patterns are changing, right, the product managers and the business owners are very limited. We have very limited view of, what can I do to grow my business?
Yeah.
What innovation should I do?
Yeah.
For that, they don't have a platform that actually can help them. And can I play with this data and see if I can create an API to partner with this company and this company?
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
That is very, very important, right? And that's going to be the foundation element for the growth that we talked about, right? The whole purpose of Conektto is that connecting ideas, teams, data, and decision, right?
Yeah.
Because of that whole larger vision we have, where we take it AI-driven, growth and prosperity for the business.
Yeah.
We are looking for really a go-to-market driven, VC, partners who can actually help us to grow our footprint, right? And then the second important aspect is, right, if you look at the problem that we are trying to solve has, horizon 1, horizon 2, and horizon 3. Horizon 1 is solve the specific problem that we see between the way how APIs are being tested, APIs are being built, and the design challenges, right? Our larger vision is we want to transform, we want Conektto to be the transformation engine to grow from the API economy to AI economy. Wow. And that is only possible when you get rid of the traditional ways how APIs are built. When you clear the dirt in the water and expose to a clear water, the way how APIs are being consumed, built within the ecosystem, give ability for anybody to be able to build the API, and more importantly, our metadata repository.
Wow. Such an amazing vision. I think you're truly reshaping the way development is happening. I think we don't even know what we're getting into here, because you're just looking at the possibilities and you're building the infrastructure, and we don't know what's going to come out of it. Yeah. I love this whole concept of AI economy. I think a lot of universities are also innovating. It's one of the stakeholders I want to bring to light. They work with the drone swarms, the government projects. They're working in defense. They're working in a lot of other areas. They could use because some countries in Europe are AI first. They launch a lot of initiatives throughout the country, and at that scale, something like this will be very useful. So on that note, I want to wrap up with one last question. You could be anywhere doing anything. You both are so talented, and look at your resumes, 20 plus years in autonomous technology, in Chicago booth, and you've got 6 patents. You could rule the world with the kind of positions you held. Why did you quit everything, and why are you doing this? So,
one is, the world wants to make money and prosperity and growth and all that, right? But nobody wants to solve the most complex problem.
Yes.
And the tech is always looked at as a commodity.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of developers. Let's go hire developers from the college and have them start learning, right? But the reality is that the last 20 years it was possible. The next 8 years, it ain't going to be possible. You cannot build metaverse experience. You cannot build IoT devices and apps that connect IoT and the Web3. It's not possible. It's just not possible with the traditional way. And on top of that, right, you want, the next generation, Gen Zs, that you want to use the power of Gen Zs and their creativity. The next unicorn should come from that generation, right?
Yeah.
And if you ask the developers to spend a lot of time writing the code and understanding the code, I don't even know what code I wrote last week. Forget about the code I wrote 1 year ago. Those are all the problems that exist, and we truly want to solve that problem. And then I think truly from a purpose standpoint, right, nobody wants to solve the big problem. Everybody wants to make money, but the important aspect that we want to solve is that B2B, right?
Yeah.
How do we make every company grow and prosper without the traditional friction that exists in the way how partnership establish, how companies integrate, and how businesses, and then the whole open business model, right? Yeah. And one thing very clear, we are here to take challenges.
I love that. If you look at Y Combinator's Paul Graham and his suite of mentors who speak to founders in the startup school, they say, go after hard problems nobody wants to solve. That is one of the secret recipes to building great companies. Go after boring problems everybody's avoiding, and you are in the weeds. So tell us, Amol, what is your why? You could be anywhere, doing anything. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, right, my career has been spent doing a lot of API-led transformations for banking, financial services, healthcare, and I've looked at it firsthand how it is about time that business and IT collaborate together and really build APIs that add value to the business. We want APIs to be more value play rather than simply being IT that's working in silos, trying to figure out the mission behind the business. So that is truly my passion, to make sure we level the playing field, we empower our API builders with technology that can just make it possible for them to really thrive in this digital economy.
Fantastic.
And that is what drives me and Ram to take this problem head on.
Fantastic. So, I want to wrap up on one note. There was sales-led growth. There is product-led growth. They say the next wave is developer-led growth. And here we have Ram and Amol building Conektto. They're spearheading the developer-led growth. On that note, thank you so much for this amazing, insightful, wonderful vision you shared with us on Pitch Cafe podcast. I'd love to have you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.